This is One-on-One. Sarah Lewis is the author of The Rise, Creativity, The Gift of Failure, and The Search for Mastery. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
The premise of this book is amazing. Not a lot of people have taken on learning from failure.
Yes.
Why'd you take it on?
You know, for me, it was an idea that I started to think about as a teenager, actually. I was thinking about the gift of failure when I experienced it myself. I lost in this painting competition, a national competition. I had won 2 years earlier, at age 14, had won a computer, which is for a teenager is a big deal. And to lose, it taught me things about myself that I then realized could have come no other way, you know?
Yeah.
And I wrote about it for my college application essay to go to Harvard, and then started looking at the life stories of so many iconic individuals and groundbreaking achievements, and realized that this sometimes is the foundation.
Such as?
Well, I looked at the life of Martin Luther King, for example, saw that he received C's twice in public speaking class. You know, and thought, wait a minute, we're telling these,
this is great.
You know, these sanitized stories, and
Hey, Lincoln lost a few elections.
just a couple. You know?
Like 10.
Yeah, so it seemed to be a requirement, and I thought, let's talk about this more, and I wanted to write a book about it.
You know, a couple other people, by the way, so I always say full disclosure. How about this one? I'll never forget, people say, oh, on your bio, I saw that you were the youngest person elected to the state legislature in New Jersey. And I'll say, yeah, I was the youngest person to lose his seat in the state legislature 2 years later. And I learned so much from the loss more than the win.
That's right.
Same principle. Yeah. How about this one? Cézanne.
Cézanne.
Go.
Paul Cézanne.
By the way, I'm not comparing myself to Cézanne. Go ahead.
No, but Paul Cézanne saw his works in his own mind as potential failures, as likely failures. He only signed less than 10% of his paintings.
Because?
He didn't feel that they yet merited his goal, you know? You can go on and on. William Faulkner, right, published The Sound and the Fury, and didn't yet think that was what he wanted it to be, and so he rewrote sections of it. 16 years later, publishes those sections in an appendix to the book.
Jackie Joyner-Kersee.
Yes, you know, she, fails in one competition in her mind to receive the gold, and the near win of getting silver pushes her to achieve something at the gold level that hadn't ever been done before in terms of the heptathlon and her score there. There's this propulsion that comes from not quite hitting your goal that really is transformative.
J.K. Rowling.
You know, J.K. Rowling, right? As she said in the Harvard commencement speech address she gave, rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life.
Say that again.
Rock bottom can become the solid foundation on which you rebuild your life.
Wow.
You know?
Wow. This is the other. How about this? Samuel Moore
Yeah.
was a painter for 26 years.
That's right.
And then?
Invented the telegraph out of the stretcher bars of the canvas itself. He literally transformed it. So President Obama in the Oval Office has a telegraph model of this failed painting, which is now the telegraph, and founded the whole communications revolution.
Hey, how about this? Barack Obama runs for,
Right.
you don't realize this, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you do.
Yeah.
Barack Obama ran for Congress
Yeah.
in Chicago
Yeah.
and lost a race that no one talks about.
That's right.
And he says he learned more about politics and what he needed to do to win, and soon thereafter won a seat in the United States Senate, and then something else happened after that. I can't remember.
Yeah, who knows?
Right?
Exactly, exactly. It feels like it's almost a requisite for groundbreaking achievement, you know? And it's just about time that we have a conversation more publicly.
How open were people to talk to you about their own failures in the book?
Well, in the end, I interviewed over 150 individuals for this book. In the beginning, it was more difficult because I was only using the word failure. But as soon as I started to frame it in the larger context of life as it's lived out, I realized that other terms had to come into play, because as soon as you go through an experience where you learn from failure, you tend to call it something else.
Such as?
A transformation, a learning experience, a trial, and setback. Lots of those. So those words came up in the conversation far more than failure, even with people who, we look at as having classic failure stories. And the term failure, though, you should remember, was never really meant to apply to human life. It was a term that was just a credit rating, really, in the 19th century. It meant bankruptcy. It meant that your business was finished. But I think it's always been a force fit for human life because life is dynamic, it's ongoing, you know. The term failure was meant to suggest that something had a dead end, but the human spirit isn't like that.
What has this done for you? I mean, it's so interesting. You were telling me before we got on the air that we're at 66 in Broadway. You may be able to tell when you see the sign over your shoulder. You were born and you raised right around here. You know this neighborhood. You know New York City well. It's a tough place, right? You've experienced some degree of setback or some setbacks.
That's right.
What has this book done for you?
Given me so much strength and excitement about embracing all of what life can bring to you and knowing that you can always do something incredible with it. It's given me more fearlessness.
Fearlessness.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the example about Martin Luther King, who I spoke about earlier. So he got those C's in public speaking. He developed this verbal tic later in his life, right, as he was speaking. And Harry Belafonte asked him how he overcame this tic. And he talks about the importance of surrender. Surrender not as giving up, but giving over to just what's going to happen, you know, and for him it was meeting his end at some point. And I think that for me, I really see the kind of beautiful surrender in my life, not just to circumstance, because I now know that I can do what I need to do with it, to always turn it into an advantage, you know?
You've got a great attitude.
Thank you.
And I have a feeling you're going to help an awful lot of people with the book. The Rise, Creativity, The Gift of Failure, and The Search for Mastery. The author is Sarah Lewis, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on public television.
Pleasure.
That's why we have this place, to have people like you here. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this from the Tisch WNET studio in the heart of Lincoln Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, County College of Morris, PSE&G, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, Wells Fargo, Celgene Corporation, and by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.